I've got a banger story for you. I met one of the saddest, most pitiful human beings ever in my entire life in New Orleans last week at a club of the Strip. So I went on vacation in New Orleans. I met a buddy there, and we had a pretty good time. You know, we walked down Bourbon Street, and we walked down Canal Street, and we went to the river, and we had a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I recommend New Orleans to anybody. And yes, it is hot as you know what. Anyway, one night, I believe it was Thursday maybe Friday, we decided to go down Bourbon Street and get some drinks. Bourbon Street's like the main drag in New Orleans where all the partying happens, all the fun takes place. And as we were walking down the street, we noticed these clubs of the night. And we look at each other and we say, we should probably go in there, see what's going on, check out some of the talent that is in New Orleans. So we go in one club, and it turned out to be pretty disgusting. There were a bunch of very large women that were unattractive. So we quickly left after we finished our beers, and we went to a second club. So we get in the club, and we noticed, the women there are a lot better. They're a lot more attractive. So we decide to stay a little bit longer. And by this time, we had been drinking for a decent amount of time, so stuff started to get a little bit blurry. But I remember this group of guys sat down with us, or sat down at a table next to us. So my friend, he's more social than me. He starts talking to the guys. He starts, getting to know them a little bit better. And one of the guys, he's like, I think he was 39 years old. He had a nice little haircut. He was like 5'11", 6 foot. Average looking dude, maybe slightly above average. Not a hottie, but not a bad looking guy. And we find out this guy was prior military. Now, both me and my friend are prior military, so, whenever you see somebody that used to be in the military, you got to talk to them. So, where'd you serve? What unit were you in? Did you deploy? Ugh. And as we're talking to this guy, we see that he's drinking more and more and more. He's having a lot of liqueur. I was sticking to beer because I didn't want to go freaking nuts. But he was drinking a nice liqueur on the rocks. And he was getting drunker and drunker and drunker. And before you know it, we start to hear about this guy's love life. Now, my friend's sitting closer to him so he can hear him better. But basically, the guy was complaining that at 39, he had accomplished everything else. He had like 100% VA disability, of course. So he's getting $4,000 a month of tax-free income. He had a nice little job, and basically he checked every box in life for financial success, but he was upset that he didn't have a wife. Now, I do not respect that opinion. I think that's a sad thing to be upset about, and I think all relationships with women should be viewed as transactions. But that's a story for another time. But this guy was absolutely destroyed that he did not have a wife. Now, number one, it's pretty common nowadays to not be married. It's actually exceptionally difficult to marry somebody of high quality. You can easily marry trash, like women that have multiple children and want to use you as a piggy bank, and a lot of losers do it. It's easy to get married to those women. Oh yeah, bruh. Or you can get a girlfriend. It's easy to get a girlfriend if you want to settle for trash or nose-ringed tattooed garbage. But to actually get a wife that is very high quality, youngish, can have children, isn't covered in tattoos, isn't in massive debt, things that would be common sense for a normal society, that's exceptionally hard to get. So the guy was incredibly down on himself. He's like, oh, I don't have a wife. And my friend's laughing at him because, my friend's like, you're financially set. Like, why are you worried about having a wife? And I'm laughing at him because I've been married before and it ain't all it's cracked up to be, number one. And number two, if your goal was to have a wife, you're sadly mistaken. You're very sadly mistaken. The goal is not to have a wife. The goal is to have children. That is ultimately what you get out of women. Having a wife is just somebody that you intermingle your finances with that can then utterly destroy you on a whim and take half of your money. But a woman that can provide you children actually gives you the next generation. It actually allows you to continue your bloodline, and to build a relationship and help develop a child to become a functioning adult, which I personally find very rewarding. That's the purpose of a woman, not to get married to. But this guy was totally into the blue pill, where the goal of every man's life is to have a wife. No, it is not your goal. If you have to get married to have kids, I guess you got to bite the bullet. But if you can convince a woman to have kids without getting married, you've hit the jackpot. So this guy was depressed, right? And okay, I get it. You're drinking, you're really worried about it. Average guy, not a bad looking dude. In a normal society, he would have a wife. And then the worst possible thing happens. So I go to the bathroom in the club of the night to take a wee-wee. And I finish, I flush, and I turn to, leave the bathroom. And this guy is in the bathroom with me. This guy is in the bathroom. Now, he wasn't trying to get funky with me, thankfully. But he was talking to this attendant. So if you ever go to clubs, what you find is in the bathroom, there's going to be a dude in there. There's going to be a dude sitting in the bathroom. He's going to have a little chair, and he's going to have some like a little basket with mints in it and chocolates. And when you go up to wash your hands, you basically get harassed by this person. They'll pull out the soap bottle and they'll spray it in your hand. Oh, you need some soap, bro? And the whole purpose of this person is to kind of guilt trip you into giving them a tip, which I don't carry cash on me. Well, in that club, I did have cash. I had a bunch of ones. But in general, I don't carry cash. So it makes it kind of awkward because you have this like sucker dude that's sitting in there trying to guilt trip you into tipping when you just want to wash your hands. So I generally just ignore them. But the guy that was depressed, Mr. 39-year-old veteran with 100% disability, he probably stubbed his toe. He's talking to this guy. And this guy was like a black dude. He was sitting there. He didn't care. He was just like trying to get his money, right? And this old white boy, this pitiful drunk white boy, is talking to the dude and venting his entire life's depression about not having a wife. And I actually almost tipped this guy because I felt so bad for him because he had to sit there and listen to this drunk clown whine and complain that he didn't have a wife. Listen, boys, if you need advice, you don't get drunk in a club of the night, and you definitely don't go to the bathroom and start asking the freaking hand washer tip man for any advice. So I'm sitting there in absolute awe. I'm like, oh my, what? So I go out of the bathroom, I sit back down, and I tell my friend, and we just burst out laughing because this was the saddest thing in the world. Honestly, I think men are down bad. They are really down bad. Men are in dire straits if they've gotten so desperate that in order to, vent their emotional, needs, they literally talk to a dude in the bathroom. Okay, so the purpose of this story is, number one, if you need to talk to somebody, don't talk to the dude that is like a ball washer, a tipped ball washer in the bathroom. And number two, you need to stop being obsessed about getting a wife. A wife is not a victory. Having a wife is constant work, constant money destruction, and constant pain in the butt. I've lived it. I know, okay? You need to break free of the societal propaganda that says you're winning in life if you have a wife. I disagree. I think you're winning in life if you have healthy, happy, viable children that are yours biologically, and you're able to support them financially. That is the true goal. And if you can get children without having a wife, you've won the jackpot, okay? Do not get a wife unless you absolutely have to. Stop dreaming of having a freaking wife. It will ruin you. Even guys that have been married for 10, 20, 30 years, the divorce can come in year 31. And the longer you wait for the divorce, which it happens a lot more than you think in later years, especially when the kids move out, the more you get your cheeks clapped, okay? Stop looking for a wife. Start focusing on having children and building a family and getting your money right so you can afford those children. And guess what? You'll be a lot better off. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's good to seek a wife, or do you agree more with me that the children are the ultimate goal, the ultimate prize out of a woman, which is it's a transactional relationship? Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, consider joining as a member to support the channel. I'd really appreciate it, and have a wonderful cheek-free day.